Hello, good afternoon. How are you all? It's such a beautiful day here today in Iowa, and it's also the first day of farmers market. There's a lot of things going on, and whenever there is something really exciting outdoor, and the office in Des Moines, it get a little lighter, so people are enjoying life, and so we're here today. The webinar is something really lighthearted. Look at this. Look at this teddy bear like puppies, and his name is Peanut. He's my cute puppy. And, I had a client and one time and I come to do the taxes. It's actually an older lady. And she was questioning, why can I not put my puppies as dependent? I think it need to be my dependent. He depends on me and I feed him. I bath him and he's like a baby. So and this is my only baby at home, so I think he's my dependent. Of course, we all know that is not the case, right? Unless the puppy has a social security number, maybe we cannot take them in as a little child. And then look at this Peanut, and he's a miniature poodle, and I really enjoyed him. I think I am his dependent. If he ever filed taxes, he should list me. And although, by the way, list my husband too, because both of us relying on Peanuts. And he's so quiet. And on the weekend, when I'm on the webinars, folks, you don't know that he's always behind me. He never barks, so you don't notice him, but he's just very, very content. So not like, having a decoration at home. You may spend money one time, then you don't spend again. Little puppies are different, right? They get restless, they get sick, or they just, they need to eat every day, so you spend money. So today's webinar, we can focus on what the puppy deduction would be if I am this, if I'm that, and we just want to understand how the puppy comes into our tax world. For the puppies, although we are the dependent, and they don't file taxes, so it's not too much of a struggle for them, and they're not worried. It's us. We need to understand how we write off the puppies, or we cannot, period, right? And no responsibility disclaimer, just as always in our webinar, is a result of our study. And if there is anything outdated later, say 2 years later, you hear it, and if the presidential election changes, then the rule changes. So things do get outdated, and just make sure you look at the timestamp of the videos and the seminars, and know that they're all time limited, and it's not, the tax rules do not stay the same. All right. Puppies are serious part of our life. No kidding. I mean, did you hear me saying that I'm a dependent of Peanut? And so that tells you how much we're related to them and how much they're into our life. So more and more people, especially since pandemic, more and more people are getting into puppies. And a survey of American Pet Product Association had revealed that the owner of pets, like puppies and the cat, other animals in United States spent over 75 billion on the animal in 2019. This is not even pandemic yet. So after pandemic, that number nearly doubled. So that is how big of an industry that is. That is how much money you're spending. No wonder we're here, right? We're here talking about this. So like most of the pet owners, likely that you consider pets as an integral part of your family, like a child, but you cannot deduct the animal just because you feel like they are your dependent. They are not your dependent, cannot show up on your tax return as a dependent. And like magically, you have a social security number for it. So generally speaking, none of the Peanut expenses is tax deductible. Like, the Peanut you just see, I was showing you. Hey, Peanut, where are you? Peanut, can you come up here? So he sometimes understands English. And for sure, he doesn't understand Chinese. I don't speak to him enough of Chinese that he make any sense. But if I pat the tables, I say, hi, come on, and he'll jump up. So And so none of the peanut expenses is tax deductible just because he is really a luxury item and in my own life, right? So I have him and I support him, but there's no business purpose. It is not something like I'm not in that business, but I will show you who actually can deduct peanut. And no matter how lovely Peanut is, he cannot be my dependent. I want to write that on there because it is really feel very different. So I think when we talk about dependent on taxes, we should not involve feelings, right? We should just measure. And are you paying their expenses by 50% and more? Do they live with you 24 months out of the whole year? So you want to measure that by the real IRS code rather than say who you love and how much they're important to you. So I am his dependent, he's not my dependent. So that's generally speaking, Puppies for a lot of people is this way. So there's no deductions. It's just purely your luxury item like your diamond rings on your finger. And so it is expense. But right here, I want to just insert one thing. It is really important to purchase pet insurance. I'm not an insurance agency. I don't sell insurance. Our firm don't. But the Puppies insurance for accident is really, really important. The other day, I heard one of our friends who had a small puppy and swallowed a little, you know how you have the screwdrivers, the head actually can come out. So they have a whole list of the heads in this rubber holder, but the puppy took one out and actually swallowed it. So, for that surgery itself is $25,000. So do you pay for it or you just let your puppy die, right? But if you have an accident insurance, then yes, you pay for it, cannot be not tax deductible, but at least you have the insurance paying for it. Okay. But in some cases, the dog expenses are deductible, okay? So right before I dive into which are deductible in what kind of businesses, I want to give you a conceptual understanding between hobbies and businesses, right? So some people raise the dog as hobbies. So hobbies just means that if you look at this slide, it means that it's a pastime, leisure activity conducted in your spare time for recreational pleasure purposes and no reporting obligation for businesses, which means you don't really register the business and you don't really do much with it. You just, it's incidental if you happen to make money, but hobbies are going to cost. So expenses is not incidental, but the income is incidental. Because what I want to say to you here is that let's say if you say, well, yeah, having a puppy is my hobby, then let's say if you got your puppy, someone loved your puppy and you made $5,000 on it, then that's an incidental income that needs to be reported on Schedule 1, line 8. So hobby income is reportable. You have to report and pay taxes for, but hobby expenses, on the other hand, is not deductible. After 2018, there's no deduction for your hobby expenses anymore. So only income is taxable, but not expense. But business is different. If you have a business that involves dogs, and that is business activity, normally they define business as activity that money making for purposes. You're set out the business, you want to make money, period. You don't care how long it's gonna make it, but your purpose, your thought of that business is to make money. Then you also registered your business, you have your DBA name, whatever you did. So in here, I want to say that the best way to define a business is not just saying that, oh, I'm a sole proprietor. Actually, in these many years, the tax regulations, rules changes. Nowadays, if you really think you're a business, you set up a corporation, you set up an LLC, and to do that protection for you, your lawyer will tell you that, oh yeah, set up a business to protect yourself from liability, right? So Why not? So if you really are running a business and you need to come in and consult on what type of structure, what type of a legal entity that you needed, so that way you can do it right and have that business came out right out, clear, simple, and the things you spend for that business is deductible. So let's look at what are the businesses the dogs can be in. There's a lot of businesses that dogs can be in. The dogs can be a guide dog for vision impaired and hearing disabled people. You have seen them, right? So these dogs are service dogs, basically. They are, the people who raise those service dogs, or you have a service dog, those are actually deductible items. So therapy animals like therapy dogs, fish, cat, hamsters, whatever you have, those therapy animals, they are in business, so they are deductible. And the security dogs, guard dogs, right? The security dogs, like, just the big dogs and to scare people away. Though if you raise those dogs for security purposes, yes. And or raising assistance dogs. There are dog trainer facilities or companies who are raising those dogs. So if you are becoming blind and you didn't have a one guard dog yourself, you could purchase one. So those are expenses that you could be deducting from your tax return. Farm dogs, like sheep dogs, right? They are definitely farm activity related, professional dog breeders, okay? And so those are the people, they're doing that business. They breed dogs for profit. So those are businesses. Animal internet movie stars, Grumpy Cat. Do you remember Grumpy Cat? Grumpy Cat died, but Grumpy Cat was one of those internet sensations, and everything is so mean and bad, and it was so cute, right? So I actually, my son actually have a Grumpy Cat, and it's like exactly like Grumpy Cat. It just looks so mean all the time. So that's a movie star, and you're in that business, you would get income from YouTube channel or your other social media channel because of your star. People are follow you, and so these are business. Dog trainer is business. Dog shelter, business. Modification made to facility and home for dogs, and those are renovation costs, right? If you are going to, I saw in Bloomington, and there is a dog indoor cafe, so you can have drinks there at the same time the dogs are running around. So that whole building was opened up for the dogs to run. So this is what we call the facility change. It used to be a different facility, then they made it onto a dog park, indoor dog park, right? The advertising for your dog business, it is becoming really kind of important, because if you're in dog business and you don't have any advertising expenses, you sort of, telling people that you're not really in the dog business. So anything when you are in that business, what normal need to happen, it need to happen. Otherwise, you cannot really deduct that as your business. Of course, when we talk about deducting the expenses out of business, and then you have to have a business structure, right? You got to have your dog be an asset in the business. So thinking that way, if you are a trainer for dog, like Victoria on internet, Victoria goes around the dog owner's home, identify the dog behaviors and give them tips how to train. So her expenses are related to her traveling. And also, if I don't see her have her own dog in the episodes, but I'm pretty sure she would have it. So her dogs would be a good tool for her to know how to diagnose other dogs, right? So then her dogs and her travel to other homes to visit other dogs are all expenses. So these are business expenses. Of course, he got paid by the internet and also paid by the people who hire her to look at the dogs. All right, so let's look at the service and the working dog. So you may say that, well, is it good enough that I say my dog is service dog because I'm emotionally attached to it? If my dog die, I feel like I want to die. And if I am not happy, my dog putting his paw on my hand, that would make me all better. So these are all the things. These are all the things related to how dog being your personal comfort, but that doesn't qualify the dog to be a service dog, even though you think they're in service. So the service dog would likely to be trained and certified to help treat diagnosed illness and conditions. So let's say if you are an individual with certain addiction, and then then you got a dog and that is trained for helping you to come out of that diagnosed illness. So those are the dogs considered service dog, and these are the dogs are actually tax deductible. Let's say if you are sick and this is not your business, but dogs having a service dog is not your business, but you have one because you need one or because you're blind, and then that could be deducted in Schedule A, right? So working dogs are the movie star dogs, and they really do work for you. They perform for you, and you need to prove that that animal is ordinary and necessary in your line of business. So for example, if you have a law firm and your office raise a dog in the law firm, you say that that dog is needed because we actually, our staff, if they don't have the dog around, they all get depressed. So we need a dog to be in the office so we can deduct the dog expenses out of all the law firm expenses. That is really stretchy. You can say that, and I don't think you're lying, but to really deduct that dog out of the law firm's practice, you probably need a little more than what you think the dog is doing. So maybe one or two of your employees were diagnosed with mental illness, but you have to have them coming to work. Then the doctor says that, yeah, if you have an office dog, your business will survive. So those kind of things needed for you to deduct that dog expenses out of your business. Okay, so service dog, working dog, working dog need to be defined as a necessary and ordinary. So what about therapeutic clinic and a mental illness consultation place? If they have a dog, would you say that's ordinary and necessary? I would say yes, that's necessary and ordinary, because I have been to many of those kind of mental illness counseling places, and having a really smooth and quiet and mature puppy is actually a thing, because they just greet the patients nicely, and the patient can sit with them and while the counseling goes. So those are the things, and it's case by case, right? So it depends on what kind of patient you're working. Maybe if you are mental counseling for patient who has damaged by animals before, then no, that's not your ordinary necessary ways to have a dog, because they'll be very scared of the dog, right? So with that, these are possibility that dogs that you can deduct. And what about movie star dogs? These dogs are stars of monetized YouTube channel. YouTube channels, if you do a lot of posting and you have a lot of followers, you're actually getting paid for the advertising placed in between and before and after your videos. Those are monetizing activities. So you want to be able to prove your income and coming from the internet sensations. Then you also want to make sure that the expenses related to your dog, to your star, and be saved on the receipt whenever your IRS want to challenge you. But yes, you would be able to deduct those expenses because your dog is a movie star dog. Right here, I actually did a start dog. It's a movie star, STAR dog. Okay, so Grumpy Cat is a good example. Trust me, if I have time, I'll make Peanut a movie star dog, because he's so good, and he won't protect me, because whoever comes to me, and he will actually climbing on you and trying to be more friendly to you than humans are. It's just like overly bearing for wanting to deal with humans. So they don't, Peanut didn't know that there are good humans and bad humans, and every humans is a good human for Peanut. So he greets everybody. So just for that, and I think Peanut just qualified to be a movie star dog, but no, anytime when you do that is really a full-time job. So there are non-business dog ownership but deductible. So I want to give you 2 examples on that. And non-business but deductible, one of them is related to moving. If you move from one state to another because of the great resignation and you just decided to move your job, but you got 4 or 5 dogs follow you, and that is part of the moving expense. So you can consider to use form 3903 and give your dog special lodgings and a special crate and whatever you have and needed to move the dog, and that's a deductible, even though it's non-business. Okay. The other one is if you foster the dogs for shelters. So IRS has approved organizations, they are nonprofit. So they're animal shelters, and sometimes the animals are really not healthy to stay in the shelter. They contact the families to take those foster dogs. When you have those foster dogs, they're not yours. They're just living with you for the time being. So you would have a liability insurance for the dog, because you can't just lose the dog or something. You have obligations to keep the dog safe. And your dog food and the maintenance and the ear infections and the pink eyes, and you need to take the dog to the clinic, and anything related to keep the dog in the safe stage and return back to the shelter, that you can deduct it as part of a charitable donation, because it is coming from the nonprofit. They wanted you to do that. So that is non-business but deductible. So now let's talk about the businesses that we have talked about related to dogs. So the training dog to be different roles, right? Security dogs and guide dogs, and training dogs to be a movie star, and or know how to just have a facility that train everyone's dog. If you got a new dog, you can come to me, get trained. Actually, one of our staff and spend $1,600 to get the dog for 2 weeks in-facility training. So they keep the dog for 2 weeks. They train the dog for, number 1, knows how to go to potty. Number 2, know how to walk on your side without a leash. So that's the kind of businesses that can have dogs, and all the expenses are deductible, right? So those are most, and the dog breeders. And if you have dogs and you're breeding for purposes, you have an income that coming from your breeding, and you incorporated your business properly, of course you can have your, that dog is deductible. So now this kind of covers all the content that I want you to know about the dog being deductible. And I hope this is really helpful to you. And if you have a dog, and enjoy it, I mean, enjoying itself is already worth it, regardless of taxes or not tax. And you can do your tax right for any other things on the tax form to come out tax efficient. But you want to know that the dogs, when you don't deduct them and you 100% enjoy them, when you deduct them, you attach business purposes to it, then maybe it is not 100% enjoyment. I have never heard of any business owner or the people who work for a business saying that working is my 100% enjoyment. So same thing, if you turn your dog into a business, and so part of it may not be that enjoyable anymore, other than me, just have Peanuts 100% enjoyable, and he's like a piece of jewelry for me, and I just enjoy him. So I hope that you enjoy the webinar and met my Peanut. Where's my Peanut? Peanut, come over. Come on, Peanut. He is wagging his tail, but say no. All right, I'll talk to all of you again, and thank you for joining our webinar. Bye-bye.